Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our session, Trifecta, Connecting Content Creators with Distributors and Brands, sponsored by Rodale. Here is our moderator, Executive Vice President, Group Publisher, Rodale, Mary Mirko.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Mary Mirko. I'm Group Publisher at Rodale, and I lead all of Rodale's print and digital advertising, sales, and marketing efforts. You're probably familiar with some of the brands we have: Men's Health, Women's Health, Prevention, Runner's World, bicycling, organic gardening. So we kind of span a large category of content. And thanks to these global brands, we reach about 70 million people around the world who are passionate about leading a healthy lifestyle. And what we've really seen, and talking about this trifecta, is that we recognize that consumers want authoritative, health-based content in a way that they want it, when they want it, through magazines, books, websites, e-commerce products, apps, videos, across the board. And through this business model, I've seen firsthand the evolution and the growth and the need for collaboration and seamless integration among content creators, content distributors, and brands. And that's really what we wanted to talk about today. Today's panel is going to talk about how to do that, how to create this trifecta among these three key players. One example for Rodale, just to kind of give you a little preview, is something we've done. We work with Chad that we do with The Biggest Loser. And Chad is going to talk more in detail about it. But it's something that now we've moved into our 10th season, where we continue to share content, cross-promote brands through various distribution channels, resulting in increased revenue, viewership, brand awareness for all involved. And it really, what we've seen is that the key to it has been this seamless integration among all these key players. We do 11 Biggest Loser books, 8 of which have been on the New York Times bestseller list, 13 magazines, 5 more in 2011, editorial integrations, BiggestLoserClub.com, which has about 650,000 members. So the vast reach of it is really just enormous. So again, Chad will be talking to that more, but hopefully that'll give you an idea of what can happen when this seamless integration works. And again, we're going to give you kind of a little bit of preview of how it can work. But before we get started and before we get into the questions, I'd like to introduce to you our panel, starting here with Nico Chalice. And I'm going to let each of them introduce themselves, tell you kind of about what they do, and what they're going to be talking about today. So Nico, I'll start with you.
So I'm Nico Charles, and I'm the managing editor of MSN Video and Bing Video, and fighting a little bit of a cold because of all the hot and cold here at NATPE, but do my best to give some good panel. At MSN Video, we are focused almost entirely on creating original content that makes up maybe 80% of what we do, 80–85%, with a small segment of licensed partners that we aggregate and distribute. But most of what we're going to talk about here is in the original content realm.
Great. Next, I'd like to introduce Catherine Warren from Fan Trust Entertainment Strategies. And I'll let Catherine introduce herself.
Thank you. Everybody loves a fan, and we certainly understand that fans can be evangelists for your brand, your distribution channel, or your content. Of course, they can friend you on Facebook, critique you on Twitter, or mash you up on YouTube. But soon, fans will actually be part of your business valuation, merger and acquisition strategies, and financing. Fans of big brands like Starbucks and McDonald's spend twice as much as other customers. The average value of a fan, by some estimates, is $136, which is based on product spending, brand loyalty, and willingness to recommend. Fans are also more likely to remember brand messaging than any other audience. So that's a powerful reason to build a fan base as part of any campaign. And I'm sure we'll be getting into that as we talk today. My business, Fan Trust, does entertainment, business development, and deal making. And then once those deals are done, we do the community building and the hit making. And I'm also a board member of something called the Bell Fund, which is Canada's largest private fund for convergence broadcasting, and we've invested $95 million to date. But only recently have we started to see producers and broadcasters and others put a premium on fans, those committed consumers. So it'll be interesting to hear what my colleagues today have to say about this.
Okay. Next, I'd like to introduce Erin McPherson, who's Vice President and Head of Originals and Video Programming at Yahoo.
Great, thank you. Hi, everybody. I hope everybody's been having a good conference. I'm Erin McPherson. I run video programming and original video at Yahoo. So I oversee our licensed partners, and we have a lot of them, and also our branded entertainment and original business. And seeing that it's the last day of the conference, it's the afternoon, a lot of you probably have had late nights. I will now stop talking and show a video. And yes, it's self-promotional, but it's got all of what we're doing right now on Yahoo. We're actually producing about 32 original sponsored shows on Yahoo right now. So, okay. Roll tape. I guess that's kind of old school.
Yahoo is the go-to place for the web's best news, entertainment, lifestyle, and sports coverage. And check this out. Yahoo has some of the most popular video programs on the web that showcase in-depth interviews, unique features, and exclusive performances you can't find anywhere else.
Hi, I'm Frank Nicotero, host of Yahoo's Primetime in No Time, your source for TV's fuzziest water cooler moments. Mine is often imitated, but never equaled.
You know what he reminds me of? The castrati. You know the boy sopranos?
Those are the people they cut off their...
Ah, yes. I know what they're called.
That's a castrati.
My name is Terry Peterson, and I'm 54 years young, and I'm an extreme mountain unicyclist.
Watch the thread for the latest star styles, how to get the celebrity look for less, and vote for who wore it best.
Members of the House and Senate get $174,000 a year, plus a spiffy pin.
I'm Jim Brasher, and this is not your ordinary weekend.
Hi, I'm Taylor Swift, and this is Ram Country on Yahoo Music.
Are you ready? Are you set? Then let's dance.
That's great. And next is Stuart McLean, who is the founder and CEO of Content & Company.
Hi everybody. I'm Stuart McLean. I'm with Content & Company. We're a brand studio based out in Los Angeles, and our job is to help advertisers create their own programming. And I'm going to follow Erin's lead, and rather than try to explain that, we'll show a clip of a show that we did for Subway this summer called Golf Therapy, Life Lessons in the Pursuit of Par. So if you could roll the Subway video, please.
Welcome back to the 2009 American Century Championship here at beautiful Lake Tahoe. The weather has cooperated, and this has been quite the day for golf. We move now to the 6th hole, where Brian Baumgartner is in the fairway. Not a good shot. Tough championship for Brian Baumgartner.
No, it's way too hard. God. Oh, damn it. Oh! I have nightmares now. I wake up sweating. I just can't sleep. I need you to help me.
You know what? Sit up. We don't do it like that anymore.
This summer, Subway teamed up with Brian Baumgartner, Emmy Award-winning actor from The Office, to create a star-studded comedy special on NBC Sports.
I mean, like, stop, no. I'm trying to be an actor.
Subway's famous fans were brought in to give Brian some tips on how to get ready for Lake Tahoe.
There once was a guy named Brian that left the golf course crying. He finally called his guy JT.
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
Oh. Don't quit. You finish. You win this thing. You got me. You win this thing.
Golf Therapy gave Subway the winning combination of broadcast, webisodes, Facebook. Even Ashton tweeted about Golf Therapy.
Michael, you need to call me.
Yeah, right.
As long as I'm not eating or something like that, I'll pick it up.
Oh yeah, and while we were at it, we made a bunch of commercials too.
Subway footlong, your favorites.
Throw on some mustard.
Subway, where winners eat.
Great way to end the day here at 18 for Baumgartner.
And finally, Chad Bennett, who is Vice President, Brand Development and Production at Reveille.
Hello, thank you all for coming. Chad Bennett, I'm head of the Brand Development Department at Reveille, and we are basically tasked to create off-network extensions of the shows through promotional partnerships, sponsorship partnerships, and licensing. So any sort of touch points that live organically off the show to drive not only viewer investment emotionally, but also financially, just sort of coming full circle to keep driving tune-in as well as sort of the broader business. And just sort of expanding on the whole idea of distribution. I have a quick slide to show you. In the sense of sort of great content, what we've learned is brands sort of come to organic content that fits their needs. So it's very naturally communicating with the brands as to what our shows are about. And we've had great success in bringing in partnerships. And from there, it's sort of elevating those partnerships to figure out how to expand them on every level. And if we can show the first slide of the PowerPoint. So here we sort of leveraged Genio, one of our biggest sponsors, to aid in the distribution of brand extensions. So they help sponsor the DVDs, a cookbook, and our 5K. So they're actually paying not only to be in the show, but to also build our bigger business. And then in terms of Cheerios here, they're actually becoming our distribution arm. They're not only promoting the tune-in for the show, but they're also driving our bigger business with the club. They're supporting the magazine that we do with Rodale, and they're also building a philanthropy around the show. So it's not just about straight integration into the show, but how to really maximize every dollar that the brand has in delivering their initiatives that connect with our shows. And then the second slide is just a model of sort of the playing off of Stuart with Subway, is the ideal relationship with a sponsor is sort of maximizing every show that we have, always having ongoing conversations once you make the connection. And as you can see, Subway has been a sponsor of ours on many different levels, from digital to network to our philanthropies and biggest user brand. Sort of my spiel.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, you know, I think you'll agree, the panel, we come at it from a lot of different places, but we're all going to the same place. And actually, the subject of this panel was actually born from one of our panelists, Nico, and a personal challenge he faced at MSN, if you want to kind of just touch on.
Yeah, so we all are in the business of connecting these points of the triangle in getting content creators, distributors, and brands on board. And we all do it to varying degrees of success, but I think we would all agree that it's a very hard project to undertake. There are many layers of complexity, and much of the work needs to be repeated from project to project. And what I sort of brought up as the main idea is there's got to be a better way of doing this. There have to be efficiencies that you know, we as an industry can develop, can templatize, can agree on standards of project management, of reporting, of measuring success. And I think there's so few occasions where as peers we get to talk to each other. and exchange war stories without fear of offending a brand or what have you. So this was really more of a challenge to talk about ways of at least starting the conversation of how do we establish those better practices? How do we make things more efficient rather than just share and accept the pain and the challenges that we all face? I'll give a couple of examples, both fairly simple, but they describe the problem well. One was a conversation I had with Tony Pace from Subway last year at a panel for NATPE in Vegas. Thank you, Miami. Where we figured out that in the pursuit of a premium sponsorship where Subway might buy something on MSN, an original show, that from his perspective as the brand and mine as at the time sort of both the distributor and the content creator, that there were between 11 and 13 layers of people between us. And if you imagine the conversation that has to take place, where every bit of information needs to go through those layers to get to the other end and then back, it's like playing telephone in kindergarten. And certainly once we knew who we were and could connect directly, that certainly made things easier. But there are far more situations where you don't know who that key person is within the other organization that you need to connect with. The other example I want to give is of a show we produced a few years ago in partnership with Generate. And this was during the presidential elections. And we created a show with Generate where we fielded our own presidential candidate. This was a comedy show. And our candidate would, the position that they would adopt on any issue was whatever the last person had told them via email, Facebook, tweets, an on-the-street interview. We had some UGC components to, he was also looking for, he was a single man looking for his first lady and a vice president. It was a great show. Generate pulled out all the stops. Jordan Levin was fantastic in making that show happen for us. One of the drivers was juxtaposing that show and promotion of that show with the elections wave that was coming. So next to real news content, we would follow it with this original show. And our traffic plan, which was pretty ambitious, and the streams and ad impressions that we were able to deliver on that show, unique to the elections, was considerably bigger than one of our standard packages. We had an advertiser that we were talking with for quite a while. Conversations got very deep, and there was a high level of confidence on both sides. And at the 11th hour, I got the request from the advertiser, we're on board, it aligns with all of our needs, meets, product, brand goals, et cetera, et cetera. Could you move it to February? And at first I thought that was a joke. and then when I realized that wasn't a joke, I wanted to pull my hair out. But we ended up producing the show without that sponsor on board. But clearly there was a massive breakdown in communication there, and the right people weren't talking to the right people. So a simple example, but there are many examples like that and more complex that I think we could all talk about.
So basically it was first all the layers, and probably all the layers contributed to the breakdown in communication as well. I mean, it became kind of a bad game.
And those layers, I mean, granted, I work for a large company.
Right.
Many of them exist within Microsoft. But then there are agency layers.
Yeah.
Then there are there are the brand layers. So you know, you might only have 2 or 3
Right.
within your direct span of control, but 2 or 3, 3 or 4, 2 or 5,
Right.
add them all up, and I say blue, and you hear elephant.
Well, Stuart, I know with your company, I mean, you guys have kind of, you've attacked that a bit. You know, you create original programming for brands. You're a smaller group.
Yep.
Kind of a direct access there. What kind of challenges? Do you see these challenges?
Well, sure. It's the same challenge we all face, and it's really a challenge that should be viewed as an opportunity. You know, the old content model, which really isn't that old and is still going on, is the network pays the producer, the brand pays the network, and everybody's happy. So in our case, we're bringing the brands really far forward in the discussion and are financing directly with the producers and also maintaining the brand's relationship with the distribution partner. And it's interesting to see everyone get comfortable in their new roles, and that's really key when you're developing these programs. It's an equal partnership now. It's an equal partnership between the brands and the talent and the distributor. And, you know, the brands play a really interesting role. You know, of course, they're in a position to finance, but more and more they're in a position to be a distributor as well. We all know it's hard to get an audience, and it's even harder to engage. And it sounds like we've all worked with our friends at Subway who are really advanced in this space. And a big reason for that is they have a massive audience. They have 23,000 stores, 30 million transactions a week, 3.5 million Facebook fans. And if you can harness that and couple it with what a Yahoo can bring or an MSN can bring, and so they complement each other, you really get in a great place. When we were developing the Golf Therapy show with Subway, it really was an equal partner, and everyone had skin in the game. So Subway came to the table with some financing. They came as a producer as well. They provided their famous fans, Michael Strahan, Justin Tuck, Nastia Lukin, Layla Ali, and also distribution through their channels. Brian Baumgartner came with his great creativity, not only as an actor, but also as a producer. You know, he brought his famous friends along for the ride as well who wanted to work with him, Aaron Rodgers and Pau Gasol. And also Brian is really hot in the social media space. So that, again, was another layer of extra distribution that we could bring. And NBC Sports gave us a phenomenal time slot. They gave us access to their people, their golf tournament, as well as promotion. And the key for all this was tear down the walls. You know, this was Tony Pace, Brian Baumgartner, John Miller sitting around a table hashing it out. And, you know, the challenges on this, it sounds kind of scary, right? Because everybody's got notes. Subway has notes, and NBC has notes, and Brian has notes. But, you know, that's really a positive. It means that everybody's engaged. It means that everyone's got the same vision to move a program forward, and we should all welcome that kind of harmony to do it. So, you know, I think the challenge we all face is how do we get to that point that Nico just described, where you can, you know, cut through all the layers of bullshit and have all the decision makers sitting together and create great programming, because we all want to get to the same place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, you know, you touched on something, though, the consumer experience. You know, I think that, too, is such a big, obviously the most important thing. And Aaron, I know in your experience working with content partners at Yahoo, how do you've been so successful at this, ensuring that brand integration is organic while also meeting the advertiser's goals? Like, do you have an example or somehow to talk about that?
Absolutely. I'm sure everyone on the panel has examples like Nico's. In fact, as I listened to your examples, which I didn't hear before the panel, there's a lot of head shaking. I mean, I think to some extent, the messiness of the process, I think, is a symptomatic of how new this is, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that is very cool. I mean, we are at the start of what I think will become a predominant form of content. The way content gets created and funded and distributed is in this deep partnership with brands. And, you know, I love that we're having this conversation, though, about maybe ways we can make the industry itself more standardized, or at least call out some of our own challenges and issues. For instance, measuring. I am pretty obsessed with how we measure success. I think TV early on decided how to measure themselves. Nielsen, there's a standard, you know, and then they're going to sell against that. So when American Idol goes through the roof, those ad rates, you know, respond accordingly. And right now we are still in the Wild West. And I think that together, not to sound too kumbaya, I know there are a lot of players, but to echo what Stuart's saying, at Yahoo, when it works best, it's when we've got a real brand, a real partnership with the brand. It's not always easy, but I feel like it's an education.
Yeah.
They're educating us about their goals and needs, and we're educating them about what works on the web and how to really create programming that the audience is going to love and not experience as a commercial.
Because content, I mean, especially when we're doing, some of it's not measurable. I mean, there's really not a standard. I mean, there's obviously audience and things like that, but there doesn't, it's much more valuable than that. It should have a larger value proposition.
And we have an issue, I think, that's an opportunity because content goes viral. And I love that about the internet, and yet we're not measuring that.
Yeah.
And in fact, we have a disincentive to really blow it out, which should be the opposite. We should want
I
it
hate
to just.
that. I hate it. A clip goes 3 million,
Yeah.
5 million, 10
Yes.
million streams, and I'm getting screams down the phone.
Right.
Back off.
Right.
Back off. And I'm telling them to fuck off. I'm playing that.
Right.
This is good for our users, and we don't have a way of, as you said, valuing it well, measuring it well, you know, showing to an advertiser that you want to be with that clip, even though we can't really tell you what it is or when it is.
Right.
You know, we can make some guesses, but what you said about it being the Wild Wild West right now, absolutely, I think we would all agree. But we have to. I think it behooves all of us on stage in the room to come up with those standards, because who's going to do it if it isn't us?
So can I call you Sheriff?
Yeah.
You've just been appointed.
Nico, that's your next step. Okay. I love it.
I don't mean to tease. I agree. In seriousness, I agree. And I think everyone will benefit ultimately because we will find efficiencies. As you said, each one of those shows that flashed up on the screen that makes me look good takes many dozens of people to create and produce at Yahoo. And it's many, many conversations between the agency, between the brand, between the production team, between partners like Reveille, that we have a very successful show. You know, as you were saying before the panel, how many emails a day? We do a show with Reveille called Who Knew? It's fantastic. It's started on Yahoo News and it'll be going to OMG, but your inbox is full because it's fine tuning, you know, making sure that editorially it's meeting our needs, that it's meeting the brand needs.
And I think the details are what maximize a partnership, and the details are what sponsors and licensees can grab onto and take ownership of, you know, in their own regard, and sort of building the brand along with the distributor and the creator, and sort of what is the vested interest for everybody, and creating that equation where it is a win-win-win, and everyone's contribution drives, you know, ultimately the viewership, which is what everything's measured on, and then hopefully the sales and the further sponsorships.
Yeah.
I mean, the quality of branded content is getting so good that the brands are effectively competing with traditional content producers, and campaigns that, you know, just went through the roof, like the Old Spice guy, got so many views and were so entertaining. I don't really think fans care as much anymore who the producer is, as long as they're engaged and entertained. And that was also an interesting campaign because it was interactive. It started out linear and then it became interactive when the numbers went up.
Yeah, I have to jump in there that we talk about connecting these three groups, these three types of people, and certainly with content creators and distributors. Maybe not with brands, but with those two, who they are and where they are, I think is in flux right now. Is tremendously changing. That as you said, many of the brands. I wouldn't say. Actually, I would say some of the brands are absolutely on the cutting edge of creating great, they're becoming great storytellers themselves, and they are expert in that space in a way that they've never been in the past. Also, distributors are changing, particularly due to the social landscape. When we ran a couple seasons of The Guild with Felicia Day, her following on Twitter, which I think there are two metrics that are important to somebody on Twitter. How many people are following you, and how many people are following you and will do what you ask them to? And I would say about 120% of her Twitter base will do exactly what she asks them to do. So when she said, hey, I've got a new episode of The Guild out, she became a major portion of our media plan in her tweeting. We bake that in. So who the content creators are, who the distributors are, in addition to some of the more traditional power structures.
Well, and I think, what a great point there is, look, no one group can do it all by themselves anymore, right? I mean, you need to grab from all sorts of different places, whether it's from the talent or from the brand can bring or from what the distributor can bring. And that's what everyone just needs to get comfortable with. So, to be very relaxed about that and say, hey, it's okay if we didn't used to do it like this, but look at this great doorway we found into Twitter, and let the talent run with that, and that can be part of their role.
Catherine, you mentioned earlier about a new venture. Again, kind of connecting all of this. Can you kind of touch on?
Some of the world's top global brands are in fact charities. For example, the United Way. And FanTrust has been involved recently in a partnership project with Broadband TV, which is currently driving overall a billion video impressions for YouTube. And so we decided to work with Broadband TV and YouTube to start monetizing charities' videos. So many of these charities have tremendous content asset banks. They have field workers, people all over the world that are in a position to capture amazing and compelling content. They have memberships and they have funders that want to continue to help. So the channel VisoGive, which is just soft launched, so it's just now starting to get some visibility in Mashable and other places, allows viewers to be monetizing these charities simply by virtue of watching the video. So in this case, the charities bring the content and the membership, the loyal fan base. Broadband TV is driving the traffic. YouTube is the destination. And the videos are ad monetized, but the brands are in fact the charities. So it's an interesting mix-up of some of the things that we've been talking about, and I think doing good really is the best business because the majority of consumers, for example, say that they have bought a brand that supports a good cause, even if it's not the cheapest. There are many other statistics like this, and there are socially conscious brands that want to attach to social media and social audiences. So I think for many reasons, what we're doing is also going to be giving back.
I think that's a real opportunity there, too, to really bring it all together. Chad, you mentioned earlier, doing The Biggest Loser, obviously, is just gigantic. And I think everything you mentioned about communication, but I think the other part to it, which I know having worked with you, is also about being very proactive in getting out to these people. And what have you seen? Like, what particular things worked for you? Like in the example that you showed, like when you got out there, how you you brought the ideas to them and brought them all together.
So I think just playing off of what I said earlier, I think that if the content is amazing and it sort of speaks to a broad audience, I think partners will naturally gravitate towards it. And if you're proactively engaging them in that process, it sort of speeds it up. Biggest Loser is the prime example. Season 2 is when we sort of started really launching the brand and sort of the sponsorship. We had a couple initial sponsors in season 1. But, for us, we really like to give our series sort of breathing room to establish the audience first and then sort of dive in with the brand strategy secondary. And for Rodale coming on board, obviously the relationship with them is multifold in the sense of the club, the books, the magazines. And then as the brand builds and you have this group of sponsors and this group of licensees, it really is spending a lot of time communicating and synergizing to leverage each of those individual companies' assets to make the bigger pot broader. So if a licensee is coming on board, we then use our other sponsors and licensees to offset marketing costs, using Subway as another example. For our Biggest Loser Music, they, were invested in sort of sending out an email blast to their whole email database, driving sort of a giveaway for our music, but then obviously pushing the broader business. And in the sense of their ability to drive tune-in messaging for whatever it is around the brand, and their 22,000, Subway stores and 30 million transactions. You just can't buy that. So it really is sort of maximizing each individual partner to leverage more business and to maximize their individual businesses
And
separately.
to grow on each one. Like each
Exactly.
one kind of added to the next,
Exactly.
added to the next. We
Yep.
never started thinking it was just, it was going to be
Yep.
pretty simple when we started.
Yeah, and we've actually, with Biggest Loser, gotten to the point where we have sort of a Biggest Loser summit once a year where all the sponsors and licensees come together to start creating their own synergies off of one another in hopes that we can continue to build the brand bigger.
Yeah, it's what, 10 years now, right?
Going on 7.
10
Yeah.
seasons.
So Yeah. great.
Yeah.
Wow. So
Yeah.
good. I cannot watch that show without crying. It happens. It's just...
It's a phenomenal show.
Yes,
it
it
really
is. And I think what it's making me think about is the fact that, that's truly the home run, creating a brand, a multifaceted, multimedia brand that lives in a variety of different places, that serves a huge consumer need and desire, where the sponsors are just so organic.
Yeah.
I think that's something we try to do really hard at Yahoo is, and to your point, Chad, I think the sponsor finds the content that works best for their brand, but sometimes, we are, that's kind of square peg round hole for a little while, and we will work on something until the two pieces fit, and we're not forcing a brand into a piece of original content.
Right, that doesn't make sense for them.
If it's an auto manufacturer and they want product placement, let's do a road trip show. I mean, that's the simple, most...
Not a cooking show?
Not a cooking show.
On the brand side of it,
in
it
the
really is sort of understanding why people are watching, because ultimately they're invested enough to tune in each week.
Yeah.
So it's sort of creating the extensions that naturally, organically flow from the experience that the people are watching, and leveraging this basically commercial of content that they're engaged with to then create extensions to make their lives better, to improve whatever they're dealing with, whether it's MasterChef and all the cooking extensions and sort of promoting cooking at home, or Live to Dance with, dance schools, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
There's a reason why people are watching. So how do you tap into that investment off network?
See, I would point to that as an opportunity for the content creators among us, in that historically you were either the content producer or you were the brand advertiser or the agency person, but as a content producer, you have to become much more sophisticated these days and be able to do both. And if that person comes out of the content side and can be creative in solutions for brands, or they come out of the brand side and can become excellent storytellers, I think that new breed of combined content, brand producer, whatever you want to call it, is where we all have to go. And the people who are truly good at that will be coveted.
I agree. We have about 4 minutes left. So I wanted to just throw it out to questions to see if anybody had any questions for the panel before we could go on and on. But does anyone have any questions? Anybody? No?
I have a comment.
Great. Go ahead.
I have a comment.
I've seen a lot more of this than I thought I would, but I just wanted to say any continued use of the word cyber will be met with complete silence, and you will later be mocked.
That's very
I thought that was
over. Just as we kind of bring it all to a close, I just want to ask each of you, based on what we talked about today, and kind of with our goal of helping everyone bring these three facets together, what would be your advice? You want to start, Nico? They could walk away with something.
Well, I would say, whatever the impetus for your project and wherever it's coming from the brand side, the content side, the distributor with an opportunity, whatever it is, and whoever you are in one of those three camps, spend time up front to identify who your counterpart is in the other two. Do the legwork, delay your project by weeks, months, make that connection and have those conversations up front early on in the project. Do a tremendous amount of pre-planning. Even if you miss some windows of opportunity, if you can't make those connections as early as possible in the project process, you'll have overages, you'll have somebody getting a deliverable that isn't what they expected, and you won't be able to repeat it with another cycle.
Catherine?
I think to negotiate the best deals with brands and distributors, come to the table with an audience. So have a sense either of what your traffic could be or your reach, and this is so much more than just demographics and psychographics. It's a very detailed community sense or relationship. If you don't have that, and some of your content features stars, know what their audience is and what their followers are, and the same would go for bands or music or any other touch points that you have, so that your value proposition is more than just the great storytelling. It's the community packaged in and integrated with that storytelling in a very profound way from inception.
Erin?
My parting words would be, as an industry, I think we need to take risks. I think we should not be afraid to experiment. I know I'm pushing that ball forward at Yahoo. I think every time one of us fails at one of these things, it's actually brilliant, and we should learn from it as an industry, because that's the only way we're going to grow. And sometimes they work. The Subway golf program, I learned from that. I learned from the Biggest Loser success. I hopefully incorporate that into what I'm doing at Yahoo, and we advance. But in order to do that, we've got to fail, too. So go fail.
We'll never know. I agree. Stuart?
Well, coming at it really from the brand space, realize that the reason why brands are developing content is for a marketing need. They're trying to solve a marketing problem. And a lot of people come at it with their particular issue. I'm a little short on a production, let's go talk to a brand, or I'm trying to increase ad sales, let's go talk to a brand. And what's so fascinating about this deal by deal and some of the examples that Chad gave with Biggest Loser, a lot of the triggers for the brand actually have nothing to do with broadcast or digital. It might be music downloads, it might be a health book, it might be an in-store display. And really understanding that when you're getting engaged with the brand, there's they have a business that they're trying to run too, and make sure that you line up everyone's together.
Yeah. So it is hard to get a sponsor, so there's no mystery about that. But I will say, in terms of, and we deal with it every day at Reveille, but in terms of sort of finding the right sponsor and the right licensing partner and promotional partner, in our mind, it's all about being proactive, and it's all about engaging the distributor, who oftentimes control the ad sales, the press, the promotion, the marketing, the websites, and how do you sort of make them better? And how do you sort of stimulate your creative point to put you in touch with the digital person, with the press person, with the marketing person, to say, what else can we bring to the table? And for all of our shows, we sort of proactively go through the creative of the show, write down categories for ad sales, and write down ideas that they can then go leverage their existing relationships, where we're sort of maximizing the touch points, because the brands do have so many agencies and so many, people who represent them, that it is difficult to get to the people who make the decisions. Yeah. So it is sort of maximizing everyone at the table to bring all the resources possible.
That's great. Well, thank you. I just want to say thank you to all of you, first of all, sharing your experiences, your knowledge, but most of all, your vision, of what's next and what we all need to do next and what we see what's coming down the road. So thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Enjoy the rest of your time here.